Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here at my next Legend of Korra Book 3 Change episode review. This one's going to be for K305, the Metal Clan, the second episode that aired yesterday. So yeah, this is the first of kind of a basically two-parter episode focusing around Lin and her family and just in general this new city of Zaofu. And overall, this was a very good episode. I think this is probably the best of the book so far, I think. It just introduced some new characters, new interesting characters that added a lot to just, like, the introduction of more members of Lin's family in Suyin and then Opal added so much to Lin as a character, and then they also added a lot of information about Toph, her backstory and stuff like that. We're obviously going to get more in the next episode, Old Wounds, but this one was a very good kind of setup for showing you that, like, there's a lot of problems in this family. Toph, her own family had issues, just like she has issues with her parents in Avatar: The Last Airbender, the comics and stuff like that. And overall, just there was a lot of great emotion to this episode. It obviously wasn't super action focused. There was a few fights here and there, but primarily this was kind of like a character introduction episode and focusing more on the whole idea of family and stuff like that. And it really did work very well, I thought. And Lin definitely is probably like one of the stars of the episode in addition to the new characters. Just in general, that family is just the focus of these episodes. And straight away you have the second the city of Zaofu is mentioned, Lin starts acting a bit differently. Like, she just suddenly pops the ball that Naga's playing with, doesn't want to be mentioned when they arrive in the city. When she is mentioned, she's very standoffish, doesn't want to talk about anything, and just in general seems to have huge problems with her sister that we don't fully know about just now. Just that apparently Su Yin did something because she was a rebel. Her leaving obviously caused some big rift in the family, and Lin obviously hasn't forgiven her for that, but Su Yin's tried to get past that, and she's very positive, has created a great life for herself, and is all about change. Her daughter Opal is an airbender and stuff like that, and it really just presents the idea that everyone in the story has changed somewhat. That's the big thing that it's kind of getting across over the course of these books, these episodes so far. The character who isn't right now capable of change apparently is Lin, and that's very much shown at the end when Korra makes that comment to her after, she wants Opal and Lin to just talk because Opal's really eager to meet her aunt, and Opal's so nice in this episode, and then Lin is just so incredibly mean to her and then makes her cry, and you just really want Korra to say something, and Korra says exactly kind of what you'd expect, calling her a bitter, lonely woman, and leaves. And yes, it's a bit harsh from Korra, but at the same time, Lin kind of needed to hear it right now because that's what she really came across as, and she clearly is showing that there's more to this than just she's angry about it. This is actually a pretty emotional thing for Lin as well, just because at the end of the episode it ends with Lin crying, which is something we haven't really seen. She's lost her bending, had big moments like that, but we've never seen her cry, and this was a very kind of powerful moment at the end of the episode, just to kind of show that more so than anything else, this issue with her family is like the biggest kind of thing in her life in terms of, she needs to develop kind of past, and that's what we're going to explore in the next episode. But up until now, it's very interesting that where things are going. I suppose I'll talk a little bit about Su Yin right now. Voiced by Anne Hesh, obviously new character, really kind of well done character, just in terms of, yes, the way they play it up that she has a city of metal. She even more so almost than Toph, you can tell, more so than Lin, you can tell she is Toph's daughter, and just the whole dynamic that's presented, that she's Lin's half sister, and then it gives us the information that there's two fathers that we need to find out about now in regards to Toph's shipping, love life, whole sort of thing, and then add onto the mystery the fact that neither of the sisters knew their father, so something crazy happened in Toph's love life, apparently, where neither girl knew their father. That's pretty crazy. Just like, wow, what happened to Toph here? And then so Yin does explain later on in the episode that Toph was a very kind of was a parent who gave her kids a lot of freedom, because in her childhood she had very little freedom from her parents, so she tried to give the kids as much opportunity as possible. Lin was fine, she just took the same path as her mother, but Su Yin obviously was a rebel, and she explains that she traveled the world, didn't know what to do, and eventually decided that what she needed was a kind of a family of her own, because her own family wasn't working so much. And now she has basically everything she's ever wanted: a city of her own, big family that she loves, all of this great stuff. But the one thing she's missing is her sister's not a part of it, and that's a nice kind of little thing to give this new character in terms of something to want. That she wants Lin to be a part of her life and is trying. Lin's the problem here. I assume they will present something along the lines of that. Whatever Suyin did do to make Lin so angry and cause this rift in the family, that maybe she like hasn't apologized for it, and that'll be like her moment in terms of bringing Lin out and stuff like that. But um, just very interesting stuff. I'll talk about more about Zaofu as a city later on, but for now the characters, and then we meet. Like she has 5 kids, so she has 4 sons and 1 daughter. Opal is probably the most main of all of these siblings, because she's the airbender. Interesting concept in itself that one of Toph's kind of descendants is an airbender. That's pretty fun. And she's just such a kind of nice character, and then they straight away go down the romance route with Bolin, but it works. The little story that we get here is very nice, and just in terms of instantly they like each other. She really likes the fact that he has such an exciting life, and her kind of character seems to be that she really wants something from her life, but is kind of being a little bit overprotected by her mother, who's kind of set on keeping her there. She wants airbending training for her daughter, but wants it here where she can watch over it. She doesn't want Opal to go to the air temples like everyone else. So that could be a plot point going into the next episode, that Su Yin has to learn to kind of let things go, I suppose, from her city. But she's very excited about the fact that Bolin has such an amazing life, and that's kind of what attracts her to him. But then you get the kind of thing where they have a talk. Mako and Bolin have a talk about it, and from this conversation, Bolin decides that he needs to try and like turn the charm on, and this just kind of weirds Opal out, and she just wants him to act normally, which is a really like interesting, kind of really real conversation. That like, wait, Bolin, you do know she likes you already. You don't need to do this, and she actually called him out on that, and that was worked very nicely. And then before they're about to kiss, Korra arrives, which is very interesting. Yeah, what else is there to talk about here? The other Opal siblings we get to meet. Win and Wei, Yuan, and I can't remember the name of the older brother right now. I'm not even sure if she actually said it. But we do also get to see Su Yin's husband a little bit as well. But the main thing here is just that Win and Wei invented this game called Paradisc, and it seems really cool. It could be possibly become a sport if more people find out about Zaofu. And then her Yuan is a sculptor and is creating this harmonic convergence sculpture. Very quick introduction into these characters. I doubt they're going to be anything like huge over the course of the book, but it was nice to just get to meet basically every member of her family. We also meet Aiwei, who's kind of what's his role that they say, but I suppose he's basically like the grand secretariat somewhat of this city, even though it doesn't quite have one. But he's just that sort of character, and he says he's a truth seer and can basically see if people are lying. interesting concept. I know he plays a pretty big role in the next episode, so it'll be interesting to get more on him. But just nice to get introduced to all these people of Zaofu, and the big thing here is that you can clearly see Su Yin's kind of influence on the place throughout. That people are constantly like strive to be the best they can be. It's she's trying to make it one of the most technological places in the world, one of the safest places in the world, with the best food. She has the dance stuff going on. It just seems to be one of the most kind of futuristic cities, and that she's got a really kind of good like eye for things. And she talks about how she doesn't want like the Earth Kingdom to have a queen and stuff like that. She thinks it's outdated, but I almost get the feeling that this could be some sort of a setup for something happening. The Earth Queen is overthrown or something like that at the end because of whatever evil thing she does, and maybe Su Yin is offered the throne or something like that. That'd be an interesting character arc for her to go through. But maybe that probably won't happen. I'm not really sure. Either way, there's something possibly being set up about the fact that Su Yin has all this stuff about politics. There's always the potential that she has some plan to gain power in the Earth Kingdom or something like that, but I'm not sure they'll go down that route. That seems to be kind of like, is Asami going to turn evil, book one of Korra type speculation. Right now she just seems a really kind of positive, cool character. And yeah, I suppose obviously we'll talk about more of these characters in depth and stuff like that on the podcasts. We're recording episode 4 podcast today, episode 5 podcast tomorrow. But let me just move on to the other side of the story. We see a little bit of the training back on Air Temple Island with Milo, Iki, Pema, and Kaya. We see that Da is the guy from the first episode who was up on the bridge. He has actually joined them there on Air Temple Island. We see some of the new recruits coming in, and then the guy comes in. He calls himself Yuru, but it's clearly Zahir. You can tell from the eyebrow, the kind of cut bit in the middle. And that's something I actually noticed now that Zahir is has the fully shaved head, is that you see this kind of X on, I think, this side of his head. Like, he has a shaved head. You can see there's kind of a little bit of stubble, the way they kind of show it, and that there's a skin color, and then there's a slightly dark color just to show that it's a shaved head kind of sort of thing. But there's an X that just is completely cleared the skin color, and that, to me, the only way that would seem possible is that either he just went crazy shaving that bit to get it down to nothing, or that he was like injured there at some point and like the hair follicles will never grow at that point or something like that, or just that's the style, he just put an X in his head, shaved it that way. It seems interesting because they maybe could go down some route where he has some sort of an injury that's causing him to think the way he is. He had brain surgery or something like that at some point. Weird theories, but I think there's something about the X on his head. Maybe something about the eyebrow, the way a bit of it's like that. Maybe it's just an injury from when he was initially captured by Tonrock and everyone, Sokka and stuff like that. As was explained as the last episode, that's part of the injury he suffered. Maybe. But he's there on Air Temple Island. He starts doing a little bit of training, but he seems like the only reason he was there was to read this little poem on this kind of pendant that's in Tenzin's room, again from this guy Guru Lahima, and it's about attaching yourself from the world, detaching your tether from the world so you can be free. And he clearly wants to learn this, what he sees as like a levitation technique. But I think the way they're going with this is that what Zahir actually wants is to learn the technique that Jinora knows, this astral kind of spirit projection technique, which is basically the same thing, just not taken so literally. Like, it's not that Guru Lahima literally started like hovering by himself. That's like an airbender power. That he literally detached his spirit from his body completely away from the physical world, and obviously spent 40 years as a spirit, just going around the place. And this seems to be the ability that he wants. Now, what way they go with this. Maybe that he thought it was literally, maybe he understands that it is actually just this kind of spirit projection technique. I'm not sure, but he could maybe want to capture Jinora to find out about this technique, or he could just learn it by himself from knowledge of these poems. But this seems to be what we're presented as the special ability of airbending, and it's pretty cool. Obviously after this, Kaya realizes, eventually sorts it out, that wait, this guy's insanely good at airbending, knows about our culture already. I've just heard the news about Zahir escaping. He's right here, and the fight happens, and it's a really cool fight. Kaya is pretty amazing when she really goes for it, and I hope we get to see more of that. Maybe she gets her revenge, maybe big battles towards the end of the book, but really cool scene here. And what else is there to talk about? We see a statue of Toph Beifong that was there, pretty cool. Getting to see that. Opal and Korra, the scene when they were doing their training, that was a really cool scene, actually. Just basically it's the exact showcase of, I think, what the martial arts style Bagua actually is, where I think a lot of the training literally is two people like facing each other, walking around a circle, doing that sort of thing. So that was a really kind of I think a scene that very, very traditional, links into the martial art very well, but got over the fact that she is actually a natural airbender and has potential. And again, further into the point where, like, Korra can only train her so much because she can only stay there for so long. Sue is going to have to let go of her daughter and let her travel with the team to fully be trained, and that's going to be a character arc for both Opal and Sue, I suppose, in the next episode. What else? Varrick makes his appearance in this book. That was kind of out of nowhere. Julie's there too. It actually works pretty well, though. I think that obviously she's all about giving people a second chance. Everyone else is like, wait, you're a criminal, and she's just like, no, he's a brilliant mind regardless of what criminal activities he does, and he's part of her technology team working on magnetic rail transport, apparently, which is pretty interesting if that becomes possibly some sort of a plot point. Maybe I assume magnets will play some form of a role, maybe. But yeah, we've seen magnets before, obviously, with Equalists. The Megatanks had magnet attachments in book 1. But Varrick is obviously using them for more kind of transport technology purposes rather than weaponry. And yeah, I wonder what his role is going to be, because as far as I'm aware, the San Diego Comic-Con panel coming up in a few weeks has, you know, your usual Janet Varney, David Faustino, Mindy Sterling's on it as well for her first time. Makes sense because Lynn has a big role in this book. And then also, I think also Michael Higgins, I think that's his name, is the voice of Varrick, and he's on the panel, so he must play some sort of a reasonably big role towards the end of the book. Wonder what that is. A keen scene with Varrick, I think, was just that they kind of addressed the whole Asami thing that didn't get any resolution at the end of book 2, hasn't been addressed so far, just that when Varrick left, Asami got her company back. That's fine, that's all I wanted. I'm happy with that. Would like to know what the deal is with Varrick's corporation, like, does he still have that or not? But I'm happy with that as a somewhat of a resolution to Asami's book 2 story with the business stuff. And maybe that's where Asami's character arc of this book will come into play, helping Varrick or not helping him, I don't know. And yeah, the big thing the episode gets over is just that, you know, Lynn seems incapable of change in a book called Book 3 Change, where change is happening everywhere. What else is there? Yeah, I pretty much talked about everything, I think. But yeah, just the episode again, the way it ends, extremely emotional. Just that visual of Lynn kind of looking away, not really wanting to allow herself to cry, but it's coming out anyway. Being around her family angers her initially, but deep down it's an emotional thing for her, that you get the sense that maybe she does want to reconnect with her family, but is too stubborn to allow herself to kind of be open about it and stuff like that. So it opens the door for some key development for Lynn, and that's really cool, what's going to happen. But as I said, this is a part 1 to basically a part 2 with the next episode, 306, Old Wounds. I've obviously seen that episode through the Mexican leaks, but after that, episode 7, everyone will be on an equal page. No one will have seen the episodes in advance before anyone else. But yeah, that's been the review. As I said during the review, podcast for In Harm's Way will be later on today. We'll go through the episode scene by scene, talking about it in much more depth than I did in my review. And then tomorrow, Sunday, we'll be doing the same with this episode, The Metal Clan, again in more depth than this review. So check that out on the site, AvatarTheLastAirbender.online.com. And thanks for watching this review, and bye.